Welcome back to the Coach Steve Show, where we talk about everything in the sports world. We talk to football coaches, basketball coaches, any type of coach comes on here, speed coaches, strength conditioning coaches. We even have segments where we talk about the Chicago Bears, Illinois, try to do a little bit of Eastern Illinois football, just talk about everything in sports, everything in life. That is here on the Coach Steve Show. Welcome back in. Solo episode today, just me. But we're finally gonna talk about it. We're gonna talk about college football. We're gonna talk about name, image, and likeness. We're gonna talk about the transfer portal. We're gonna try to spit some facts here, and we're gonna try to educate some people that I've been seeing from social media. And we're gonna talk about it. We're gonna talk about this whole craziness that has been going on and how it's ruined college football, but also not ruined college football. I don't think you'll ever ruin college football to make people stop watching it, but you are going to create some craziness. You're going to create some, frustrations. You're going to create some hard times on people, especially these college football coaches and what they're doing and what they're dealing with. So let's talk about it. Nico Iamaleava, I will say his name wrong, and they call him Iamaleava, so just call him Nico. Obviously, we all know this is a week old news. Tennessee quarterback that was making pretty good money from his name, image, and likeness from the Tennessee Collective. If you didn't know, Tennessee added a tax to their tickets to help pay for some of the money that has to be used in order to pay players in order to come to their college. So they were the first team or one of the first teams to do so. I want to say he was making around $2 million. We're just going to say $2 million. And he decides that he is going to pull a professional football player move and sit out practice, spring practice, and everything because he wanted more money, right? And that's an NFL move, right? Like, well, I want a bigger contract. I want, more money. And that's what he was doing. He's pulling an NFL move here. And Coach Heupel says, we're not going to be played hostage to this. We are not doing this. See ya. And they get rid of him, right? Because he wanted reportedly upwards of $4 million. College football player wanted $4 million and says that's what he's worth. And so we're going to talk about certain things here because we still don't know all the facts. We may never know all the facts. We just know what we know, and we don't know what we don't know. But it's fun, right? It's fun to talk about the what ifs and the what if game as coaches we all call it. You all know what I'm talking about. We're gonna play the what if game here. So, what has happened in college football? This name, image, and likeness, and this transfer portal that's being unlimited, this unlimited money that they can make has starting to poison college football. And what I mean by that is it's starting to give a bad image. It's starting to leave a bad taste in people's mouths. And the old college football we knew is gone. Now, I already know if someone listens or watches, they're going to say, you don't want the players to get paid. If you've watched anything I put on here or have said or tweeted, the players 100% deserve to get paid because it's their name, it's their image, and it's their likeness. If they, while they're playing college football, want to go do a commercial and get paid, they can. If a company wants to sponsor them and say, you do these commercials, you're a starter, we will pay you. If Pepsi wants to get involved, if this wants to get involved, whatever it is, and I'm just throwing stuff out there, let it happen. Let it be. That's awesome. They deserve to make the money. Hey, you want to autograph and make money? We'll sell jerseys and you get a percentage of that. The colleges have this collective, and then they have apparel stores. I'm a University of Illinois fan. They all have their own personal T-shirts. You can see Coach Bielema wearing them. Make the money that way, right? Like, deserve it. Here you go. All for it. But what is happening right now, this is the first time we've seen a player sit out because they claim they want more money. and they want it or they're not going to play. This is not what the name, image, and likeness was supposed to be. This is not what the transfer portal was supposed to be. And the suing of the NCAA has ensued this. Legislation has done this. I know there's some changes that might come forth, but we're talking the right now. And I have the privilege to, or very fortunate to talk to college football coaches. And when this happened throughout the week, I sent messages saying, "What do you think about this situation? What do you think about this situation?" I obviously will not give names or hint anything at it. And all the responses that I received from college football coaches was, I would say, 95% the same. The other 3% the same, just said differently, and the other 2% different answers. And obviously, we have conversations with each other, and I'm watching on social media. People are saying, good for him for sitting out. He deserves money. Look what these head power four coaches are making. Look at what the universities are making. He deserves the $4 million a year and everything like that. And there's a lot of layers to this. There's a lot of conversations. And one major pushback that gets to this is when it relates to the transfer portal is college football coaches can leave when they want and they're trying to better themselves and better their families. And so why can the players not do the same thing? And so I sit back and let's start with that notion before we dive deeper into this situation. Yes, college football coaches for the most part can leave whenever they choose. For the most part. Okay. Now, when we're looking at Fox Sports, ESPN, and company, we're just seeing the big time power four type of coaches. Used to be power five. Once in a while you get the group of colleges, the division ones. So we're only seeing like the big time numbers. We're seeing this coach was making, I don't know, $3 million a year, and then they go to another college and make $5 million a year, and they're trying to better themselves and their family, and they left. What people don't realize is that college coaches at that level in their contract, they sign a 4 or 5 year deal. If they want to break it, they have to pay a penalty, and sometimes they're different. So if you sign a 5 year deal and you break within two, it's a certain number. Sometimes they want to break it in four, it's a certain number. Now, most of the time, the place they're going to go to, they'll pay that, right? Like, hey, what's the penalty? Oh, it's $2 million. We'll pay the fee for you. Um, Sometimes I think people see, and we do this in the NFL, where we see a sign. So if we see a coach sign for $4 million after taxes and everything, it's really not $4 million. So those type of things come into play. But I also want, so this is true. They can kind of leave whenever they want, and usually when they leave, it's to better themselves. They think they're getting a better situation. Sometimes it is more money. Maybe the area is better. We don't know. And I want you to remember that as relate this to the players. Another thing I think people don't realize is when you think about jobs at an Alabama, a Texas, Florida, Ohio State, there's a huge amount of pressure on the head football coach, which then has to put a lot of pressure on your assistant coaches because those type of programs, they have to win right now. Like right now, they have to win, and it has to be consistent. It cannot be we win this year, 2 years later we win. So it depends. So there's a huge amount of pressure. And these coaches will get fired. They get fired. And when they get fired, there's usually a buyout. We've seen this a lot. So when you see these big numbers, the reason why these coaches will sign for such a big number is because they want some money security when they do get fired. Now, these players, this is the first time we've seen this where they want the money, but you don't really hear talking about, well, if you don't perform, you're going to get fired. And now firing could look different ways, right? Benching could essentially mean you're fired, but benching, you always have the opportunity to come back into the game and that type of thing. Being fired would be being gone from the team, which we're seeing with the Tennessee situation. So these players, one thing I want people to realize is these coaches, w- uh, let's just pick an age range, 35 to 50. Let's just say that. These are grown men, right? Especially when you're talking about the 40, 50-year olds. And for the most part, they have been coaching for a while, whether it's GAing, interning, maybe they went to high school, they went to a lower level college, worked their way up. They really cut their teeth in the profession. These are grown adults. They have car payments, they have a mortgage. Some of them have kids, so they're paying for that. Some have them in college, they're paying for that. And what this has caused to create is these college football players want to be treated like adults like that. I think there's different ways to be treated like an adult. You want to be treated like an adult, like a man, right, or a woman, and you want to be treated with respect and everything else. But there's also being treated like an adult in the real world where we talk about jobs, right? And so we tell these kids, and don't get it twisted, when they're in college, they're still considered kids. I know they're adults, but they're considered kids because for the male, the brain is still developing until they're 25. So don't get it twisted. They're still kids. But now, without any proper education on this matter, I know most colleges and everything will try to tell them what this is going to look like. They don't, I mean, they're easily influenced, and they can be influenced the right way or the wrong way. And the right way would be playing. I've been watching Nick Saban videos all day. They keep popping up on my algorithm. That's a positive impact of trying to make that kid a better person. Now what's happening is you got these agents popping in, or whoever, putting them in their head that they need to be making this money, and putting them into those situations where now they have to make adult decisions with this financial stuff, plus they're playing, plus where are they going. And so now everybody's like, well, Nico is so innocent in this. And I'm not saying to not blame him, but what I'm kind of alluding to is you want to treat them like adults. You want to put them into this financial decision making. Okay, this is what happens. You make this decision. I want more money. And then you get fired because you're putting a program and a head coach as a hostage. That's not how college football is supposed to be. It's earing towards professionalism more and more. In the NFL, they sign a 5-year deal. You don't see people sitting out most of the time, from my memory, until it's 2 or 3 years in, maybe, or they're on their last year, or hey, they had an MVP type of season. They're still playing on this certain contract. So if somebody gets signed for 5 years and after the third year they have one really good year before that, they have an MVP type season, or they're leading them to the divisional rounds and stuff like that. And they say, okay, maybe we need to renegotiate this. And that's what he wanted to do, because reports are also coming out, whether it's true or not, but we're going to lean on the side of let's just have fun with the say it's true. He threatened to sit out the playoff games and stuff because, well, my money is only for 12 games, but now we're going to play 13, 14 games or whatever it is. Like, now we're create the what has happened is the NCAA getting sued, the lack of leadership. They have created this monster, and now it's pay for play. It's pay for play. And when I talk to a lot of these college coaches, whether it is on my podcast, which are public, or they are private messages, is now, or Lane Kiffin was just on Theo Vaughn's podcast. If you listen to it, he says, I've recruited. It used to be about, and to the parents, like, hey, this is a great place to come. It's a good environment. It's an education. If he has the NFL talent, he has the opportunity to go to the NFL to make money. And those certain type of big time players, that's what thrived, right? That's what motivated them. Well, now the motivation has changed, because now if you are that big time player, you're going to make the money now. So the work ethic sometimes isn't there, because what do I have to work for? I'm already making the money. And then he has people come in. He's looking at the parents saying, don't worry, we're going to take care of your son. I'm going to treat him like he's my own. And, we're going to try to raise them right when you guys aren't around. Well, the parents go, well, that's cool. Well, how much money is he going to make? That's what it's become when you're talking about these bigger time programs. And it is filtering down to the group. of 5, and it's kind of trickling down to FCS, but not quite, but it's getting there a little bit. They don't have the same resources. So now we've created this pay for play with this name, image, and likeness because there is no cap on the money. There is none of this. Um, and then you've now added unlimited transfer portal. Like you can, well, there's 2 or 3 times they can enter the transfer portal, and they can transfer whenever they want. So you have created this monster of, well, I have $2 million here. I think I'm worth $4 million. You ain't going to give it to me. I'm going to go to the transfer portal. Well, what we've seen is that he went to UCLA, and I believe the report is $1.8 million, which is less than what he was going to get at Tennessee. Showed that he was not worth $4 million. There's a wide receiver at Syracuse that claims he wants $2 million or whatever to be a receiver. Their head coach said, "I ain't going to give you $2 million. Like, what's this about?" And Josh Heupel said it perfectly. He said, "No one's bigger than the program. You're not. The player isn't." And he said, "I'm not either. Like, the program's the program." I got a message saying that the MVP or the all-star of the team is the team. And that's what college football was always about. Like when you think of NFL, yeah, you have a program, but it's an organization, right? And that's why I've always kind of leaned more towards college sports over the pros because they are a program. They have to filter in these guys. It was recruiting them. It was this head coach that's going to set the standard. And this is what it's about. So whoever comes in, this is what it's about. And that's why I gravitated towards it. And then it became this unlimited transfer right before COVID, and COVID really ramped it up. And we've created this, and then we've also created the adults have created this where now these kids are not going to fight through adversity. It's the first opportunity they see to leave and say, "Well, I'm not getting everything I want." And it's not like they're not. Sometimes they leave because they were promised something and something didn't happen. Those type of situations I get. Now, remember what I said about college football coaches leaving because it's probably a better situation for their families? That's what the portal is for. That portal is for, God forbid, they have a family member that is sick and they need to go back home and be closer to home. Cool. Not cool that they're sick, but like, here's an opportunity. If you can get a scholarship to a school closer to home, that's what it's for. It is for a better opportunity. So if you're sitting here going, okay, I'm second string here. I don't really play a lot and I want to test the waters. And you have that conversation with the coaches, and every college coach that I have talked to on here or messaged, they will be 100% honest with that kid and say, yeah, maybe there is a better opportunity because you're not getting the reps, because maybe they had somebody transfer in that's taken their spot or anything like that. Part of me gets that, right? Especially when you're looking at FCS. When you look at FCS, if something comes along where you think you can go play at Texas or Alabama, those coaches are going to say that's a better opportunity for you. Yeah, go. And that's what they're going to say. And if there is some type of way they think that they're going to get more money, and I'm not talking from $2 to $4 million, I'm talking about, hey, you're making $50K here. And let's say they have a low poverty home and now they're, so those type of situations I can sort of get behind because that's what the college football coaches do. They don't leave because it's tough. If it's tough, they try to stay and build that program and they try to win. But if there's a better opportunity and they are offered that, they can go. But these kids, they hop in the portal thinking that's what's going to happen because they don't realize the number. Same thing with high school kids. They all think it's Division I football. They all think it's this, and they don't realize that probably have 1,000 football players, maybe 10 go to college at the big time. So when these kids hop in the portal, they still have that mindset that they will end up at Ohio State, Michigan, and everywhere else. So this portal has also created this monster as well. So when you combine the two, now you've got tampering, which is hard to prove. You have these agents stepping in saying, "Yeah, just hop in the portal." And what happens is you have agents that will call a school and say, "I can get you Steve, um, probably to your school, but he has to come for $800,000 and I can get him for you." Right. Well, then they'll call the kid and they'll say, "Hey, I'm so and so. I can get you to go to Colorado for $800,000. What kind of name, image, likeness money are you getting at this school you're at right now?" "Oh, I'm only getting like I'm getting like 500K." "Oh, I can get you 800K and you're going to go to Colorado, guaranteed." So the agents start tampering. In my world, that's called tampering. And that's what this has created. And then these agents are getting like 30% of their earnings. And so we've created this. And the thing with the college athletes is they're thinking about right now. They're thinking that they're seeing the money and they're doing it right now. Don't they remember that most people that go pro are broke a couple years after they retire? And this comes back to media coverage, because I know the media has to have viewership in order to stay relevant. So on ESPN and Fox Sports, we see the Tom Brady's of the world making money. We saw Peyton Manning's of the world making money, Patrick Mahomes, everything else, and that's what gets advertised when they see these big time contracts. But you don't see like the offensive linemen, you don't see some of the tight ends, you don't see some of the not known wide receivers and these defensive backs. Like you see the big times, but again, "Oh, I signed a 5-year deal for $20 million." Well, after taxes, it's like $12 million. The big story about Shaq, he signed a big deal. He went and bought a lot of stuff, and then it was like, oh, he has no money right away because he didn't realize, like, oh, there's these taxes. So I signed a deal for this amount of money, so it's really not this amount of money because of the taxes I pay. Um, so these kids, I don't think they realize that, and so it's created this weird world of college football, and it's not going to decline in viewership because college football is college football, but it does make it financially tough. And then another thing I've seen on Twitter is, do you think Josh Heupel has no conversations about how much money these kids get? Like, they're not involved in that. What the head college football coaches do at those programs is they talk to boosters because they want boosters involved and donate money to the collective and everything else. So there are funds for it, but they don't know. They can't sit down with a kid and say, "Yep, I can guarantee you $2 million." That's a conversation with the representatives. If you go on the websites right now for college sports, there's a name, image, and likeness department. There's this, there's that, and that's who they talk to. And so it used to be about pride of the school. It used to be about the history of the school. It used to be about the relationship with the coach and the standards they've set in the programs and to be a better person. And you can get an education. And if you are a really good football player, maybe you make it to the NFL and you can make money there. And you're working towards that. And now they want the money now, and I'm not saying if you get $2 million that you're going to be broke and you got to make good decisions with it. But then it becomes, you want to do it now. This might hurt your NFL draft status later on. What if now you don't perform well and they're saying, well, we wasted money on this kid and they're showing this. The NFL guys are like, this guy really bounced around and did not like, he's not going to work through things. He's not going to be competitive. He doesn't know how to fight through adversity and everything else. This is all going to crash and burn. Now, I know there's something coming out soon that's supposed to try to help this situation out. And I get it. I know the big pushback's going to be the coaches, the coaches, the coaches. The coaches are the adults in the room. Okay. Not these kids. These kids cannot be running stuff. Well, you're making money off of them. I get it. But the school makes money off the coaches too because they have to coach them. You can't tell me that Phil Jackson wouldn't be worth the money. He had to coach Michael Jordan. I know Michael Jordan was the best, but Michael Jordan had other coaches before Phil Jackson, and they didn't do what Phil Jackson did. Phil Jackson, you could have handed him a blank check and said, "You are able to manage Michael Jordan, coach him. You deserve all this money." That's what they could have done, especially in today's day and age. Now, back then, do you get what I'm saying here? That's what's happening. So things need to change. I think Nico made a terrible decision. He should be happy with what he has because I always say this too: how much money is too much money, right? Well, what happens like in NBA, NFL, there is a worth to you, right? Like when you go to jobs, there is a worth to you. So you feel like you're worth this amount. So when you are at your job and you've been working there for a while, you can you try to negotiate your salary, your pay. You feel like this is what you're worth. That's what these college coaches do. That's what the players are thinking, like, I'm worth this. Well, no offense, Nico. You had a good season, but you didn't have like this all-star popping out season. You didn't beat Ohio State in the playoff game. You didn't win a national championship, things like that. And then the funny thing, and Lane Kiffin said this publicly, and I didn't even think about this. These kids will make money and they'll renegotiate at the end of the season with the name, image, and likeness, or they go get different ways of making money. Then they have time off. They come back to spring ball and they come into the summer. Then all of a sudden they say, well, I want to make more money. And he said this. He goes, what have you done to prove that? Like you had a couple good practices and that's why you think you should make money? We weren't playing games. So then it becomes this. But again, Nico got really bad advice, whether it was from an agent, his dad, somebody got really bad advice. And that's another thing these college coaches are fighting is the bad advice from these outside people. And then they want to backtrack and say, well, it was the Tennessee offense. Tennessee offense held them back. What are you talking about? It's a pass heavy offense. It's a fast tempo offense that fit with him. Like now they're backtracking. So that's why it's hard to tell what's real and not real. And no offense to UCLA, but Tennessee right now is in a better position than UCLA. They got new coaches there. They're trying to build it up. In Tennessee, they are all about football. That town is all about football. The state's all about it. You go to now California for $1.8 million. It's going to get taxed. Then you got to give that agent or whoever 35%. The cost of living in California is way higher than it is in Tennessee. Then you're going to play now in the Big Ten, which is awesome. But now you're competing in that market with USC. And USC has a bigger brand name than you. And so you're going to fight all these other schools around where you could have just been at Tennessee, been a starter, say, okay, we made the college football playoff. Let's work through this. So I applaud what Coach Heupel did. He's about the program. I think it showed those players in there that that's what he's about. Like they're not going to be held hostage to this. They're not going to play this game. Whether it's true or not, I think Urban Meyer came out and said, yeah, everybody's clapping for him, but you also have to win games. So if you start losing, they're going to say maybe you should have kept him. But the program is more important than anything else, Urban, like more important than anything, especially for him. So that's what's shown here. And so I really hope some handcuffs start to come on. And maybe it has to be they change some of it where is there a rule where a head college football coach signs a 5-year deal? They have to serve 2 or 3 years before they leave. Yes, that handcuffs them. Or do you try to keep it fair? I don't know. I've always sat here and said, I think college players deserve one free transfer where it would get approved no matter when they took it. You can go that route. Or maybe like, hey, after your sophomore year, you're allowed a free one and you can go wherever you want and enter it. Then maybe you keep the college football coaches the same. Like you have to serve 2 years if the players are serving 2 years. I don't know. Because that's always going to be the argument is the coaches leave and everything else and all that. And, whatever. I don't have a problem with coaches leaving, but sometimes they leave after a year, but most of the time they're leaving after 3 or 4 years. But it's usually because when you see that happening, when these coaches leave, it's, and this is no offense to these schools, you just have to compare levels. So if you're, okay, I'm at San Diego State, I'm there for 2 or 3 years. You do good things, you win, let's say you break some records, show that you can get guys there that know how to play. And then all of a sudden, uh, Penn State comes knocking at your door and calls you and says, "Hey, you're doing a really good job there. We have a head coach spot opening. We want to talk to you about it because this, and that." That's a big time upgrade, and so that's where, hey, let's go. Let's check it out. Is it a good place for our family? That's just an example. Now, if it was, you see this too, and hey, you're at Wisconsin, and then all of a sudden, you know, Florida State comes knocking, and then you go there. Those are a little different because it's more like a lateral move to me. Like, try to be where your feet are. Um, I'm more okay with assistant coaches moving than the head coaches because the assistant coaches, people don't realize that they're not making the same money as the head coaches. Like some position coaches, they're making 300,000 to 800,000. So let's just say it's 500,000. It's tax, so it's probably 300,000, which is still a lot of money, and you can live and all that stuff. But then if a school calls and says you've done a really good job coaching the O line, we want to offer you now 800K or 900K to come be here. That's a little different because as a position coach, your job security is not as high sometimes as the head coach, and so they have to make those decisions. If you're at an FCS level and you're making $80,000 to be a position coach, you're at an FCS school, and then this other school comes along and it's a good fit for you, and it's a group of five, and now you're going to make from 80K to 300K. That's a big upgrade, and so though it just depends on the situation. So you know that type of thing, but also when coaches leave, right? It's not always about the money. It has to be a good fit. Wherever they go to be a head coach, they have to align with the athletic director and the chancellor. They have to like the town. They have to have similar viewpoints of what's going on. And so that's why they always talk about these coaches leaving. I mean, look at Brian Kelly. He stayed at Notre Dame for a long time. He always was tied to other head coaching jobs, and maybe he did talk to them and it just didn't work out. He just their viewpoints didn't align. Um, then LSU opens up, he aligns with them. It's a different challenge, and he goes. So there are differences in this. So when these kids are saying, "Well, I want the money," sometimes they're not thinking about, do they align with the offense? I'm sure they are, but like from the reports and how people talk on social media and all this stuff, and it's about money. And the reason why I think it's about money is because you think about when they're first getting recruited, even as coming in freshmen or even transfer portal, where they're asking, how much money am I about to make? It used to be about what offense do you run? What's your philosophy on this? How's the school? Is this campus? How's, the campus living? And then we've also, I think, we've also forgotten about the value of scholarships. If you go to a big time program and they give you a full ride scholarship, now you have to re-earn it every year. But that scholarship could be 150,000, right? Like you don't have to worry about anything. And then they changed it to where they get that scholarship and they also get extra money to live to live, right? Because that was the other argument was they got full ride scholarship, they had the dorms, they got a meal plan, but then it became they didn't have money to be a person. Do they have money to go to the movie theater? Do they have money to go out to restaurants and stuff? That was an old argument. And so it became, well, let's give them money. So then it started to become more money. So that $150,000 scholarship might become 200,000. So now they have they have the meal plan. They have money to go live in an apartment if they want. Then the school started buying apartments and saying, instead of dorm living, like, hey, we'll have apartments. So that started to change to help them out, which I thought, again, this is all awesome. This is not a negative thing. This is all awesome. Um, so all that started to happen. So they were making money. That used to be the argument. I'm all for still having that, but remember how valuable those were. And so now when a kid's getting offered, if Old Miss comes along and Lane Kiffin says, you're going to have a full ride scholarship here, and everything else. There has to be some value to that. There has to be some pride in that, and then make money. If you're that type of big player, like that's what it should be. It should be coming in saying, okay, I have a full ride scholarship. I don't have to worry about paying for school. I don't have to worry about this. I might come from a low income place, but I have this. I can live in an apartment. I have a way to eat. I have a way to try to be a person. Then I'm going to work hard with the collective and name, image, and likeness and everything else. Then I'll try to make extra money on top of that and work really hard. And then start to do that type of thing and focus on my play because the play would what is what's going to help do all that. So it's just blown everything out of proportion. I believe in a free transfer, and then maybe you get a second one if the head coach does leave or whatever it is, and you get a second one in a certain time frame, and then you get to go. But the NCAA has created this. There is no leadership. This is all such a mess, and people on social media just kind of don't understand how it works. And they've created this. Like I said, I've messaged college football coaches. I'm getting the same answers where they don't like what's going on. They want them to make money, but there has to be something to um, fix this. They have to be, I don't know, or I don't know. Um, or do you make it where they don't get money until they get to a bowl game? Do they not get the money until they fulfill the season? Do they have to stay in school? Do the deals have to be yearly? So that kind of puts a clamp on it where, okay, your deal is worth $2 million. You get this every year. If you break it, then this is it. Kind of like football coaches, right? We're trying to be even here. Or you sign a multi-year deal, and if you sign it, you can't go anywhere. Which again, maybe that's what happens with coaches. Maybe that's what has to start happening. I don't know. Um, and then this hurts him. I mean, I'm glad he ended up at UCLA. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. It's created such a monster. It's created such this and that. Um, and then some coaches I asked, they said they're glad they don't have to deal with it. I've messaged other coaches like, man, I'm glad I'm not dealing with that situation. Um, and again, this doesn't happen all the time. This is really blown up in the media world. Um, but yeah, and then these college kids just start to be delusional of, oh, I need millions of dollars. And then they compare it to, well, look at all the money that college football creates, but they don't understand that the college football or the school, the do people realize that like the libraries and stuff like that get built off of all the money brought in? Like that's what it does. And it's caused a lot of financial strains. Some colleges are now going from Division One. You see St. Xavier University, the report that they're going from Division One to Division Three because they can't afford it. They can't afford it. And then you're talking about taking all this money into the college football thing. The colleges also have to worry about all the other sports. I think Kirby Smart said it. We're going to sacrifice other sports that these kids want to come here and do just because of it. Like, so there's a lot of things that I don't think people are thinking about. Like, the college also has to think about their enrollment. So if you're going to pump, if they did want to give him $4 million and him $4 million and him $4 million, but now we got to cut the baseball program. Now we got to cut our swimming team. Now we got to cut our volleyball team. Now we got to cut our track team or whatever it is. Well, then they lose some of the enrollment where and the history of that, where they have a good track program, they have a good volleyball program. They want to create environments for everybody to be drawn to that university. And you want to draw that in recruiting, like, hey, you come here to the University of Illinois, our baseball team did really good. You can go watch a game and everything else. And then you start losing enrollment. And you want to create a good environment for all your sports activities. And you want to create a good environment for everything. So a lot of moving factors into this. And this has just opened a big can of worms on this. So I'm glad he found a school. It was hurting him there for a little bit. Um, Sorry, there's been some comments that I missed. So let's see. Tennessee should recruit in their regional footprint. It costs money to a kid to leave Carolina. Nico only went to Tennessee because they paid the highest name, image, and likeness deal. That is it. And again, head coaches don't know that. They have no say in this. They don't go up and deal with this. There's so much they have to do. Now they have to get boosters to go talk and show that the program's going in the right direction, stuff like that. But these head coaches don't get involved in that type of stuff. Um, it just all sucks. There's no guidelines when this. And literally, I've said this before. The NCAA said, "Here you go," like with the lawsuits and all this stuff happened. They're like, "Here you go," and just threw it out there and said, "Good luck." So now it's the wild wild west. Then you feel bad for these kids that go to the transfer portal and they can't find what they said they were going to get. So at some point, these kids have to stop being delusional and realize maybe I should stay here because I'm comfortable here. I'm starting. I am comfortable here. I'm going to keep working. I'll make whatever money here and then either go to the NFL or I can go get a job and try to save some money or whatever it is. Like there's things that they have to start waking up to. And I don't know how you wake them up to. And this has now trickled down to high school. It's the same thing in high school where they don't want to compete and fight for this and they'd rather go transfer and do this. So it's just affected everything. It's trickling down. It's getting ridiculous. There has to be somebody to step in and say and to fix this. Yeah, so longer episode than I wanted by myself, but there will probably be more of this talk coming out. So thanks everybody for watching or listening. Like and subscribe on the YouTube channel. Go check it out on Rumble as well. Follow on X and Instagram and TikTok. It's all down below. Check out all the other episodes and everything like that. Continue to leave comments down here. What do you think about this whole situation? And we will see you guys